This is a short talk on the topic of silence, power of silence. We're doing long meditation, first Thursday of every month, or sorry, last Thursday of every long meditation. And I did not really think much about what I want to talk about today, because it's a talk on silence. So I thought I should say this is a short talk on silence. Okay. But I thought about a couple of things. Whenever I think of silence, I go back to the early days of my practice. I was going to college about an hour away from the dojo, so I would drive 2 or 3 times a week back home to the dojo, and for a while during that time, I would listen to nothing, and it was. If I had to do that now, I would think that was quite boring, because now I listen to audiobooks and podcasts all the time. I don't listen to the radio very much, every once in a while, but I have certainly built that habit of liking to have some kind of noise when I'm driving and using that time to learn. But back then, I would spend an hour plus just driving in silence. It was so nice, it became like a meditation for me. And I wasn't driving with my eyes closed. I wasn't usually really focused on my breathing, although sometimes I did that. I was trying to drive well, so I would keep my eyes on the road and pay attention to little details. But I want to check it. But generally, I would be really just spending time in silence. And I noticed that when I would finally arrive at the dojo, I was much more relaxed and calm than otherwise. And I would notice that over time, I would be so calm and have this sense of peace, where when I would just more often be listening to something, then I would have a tendency to have more noise in my brain all the time. So where I developed this, what's going on? My audio's out?
Yes, sir.
I probably lost my battery on this.
I would say so, sir.
1 second for you guys listening. Oh, it still seems to be on. Is that it?
That's it, right? Okay, great. Continuing on my long rant about silence. So I would notice that after a week or two of starting to listen to an audiobook on my drive, that I would have a lot more noise in my mind during meditation, just during everyday life. And so I really tried to keep these long periods of silence, of course, during meditation, that's wonderful, just walking or driving in silence whenever possible. And it's a break for your mind. It's very important, incredibly powerful to just have that time set aside to have nothing going on, to have silence. And it's very nice to be out in nature when this is happening, but that's not always an option. And if you think you've got to be out in nature to be in silence, then it's going to make it so that it never happens. So find some way to insert some silence into your life. So the other thing that came to mind, this is a riff off of the question of the week, which is, when does silence convey more than words? And there are, cute ways that you could think of answering this question, and I've got a very cute one for you. So I don't ever basically text with anybody from the dojo. If you are a staff member, you have my phone number, and every once in a while you can talk to me. And then there's Tanya, who was staff and can WhatsApp me from France, and so I'll talk with her from time to time. And she asked me the question of the week, or sorry, the challenge of the week, which was ask somebody what they think of you or how they see you. And I didn't read this message for like a day or two. And when I finally saw that she had messaged me, I answered her, but I thought, that's kind of funny, because I bet there was time, knowing Tanya and knowing human beings, I bet there was a time where she was thinking, oh, Sifu is not answering my question. He must be mad at me for something, or I wonder what's going on. And I bet things entered her mind, lots of things that I didn't say, and there was no real sign of this stuff, but this is what people do, right? So sometimes this is like they say this is a great negotiation tactic. You just like say nothing during the meeting and let the other side get kind of like squirmy, and maybe they'll offer you more money or something. They'll say something that I wasn't trying to do that at all. It was just an accident. But this happens sometimes, right? Somebody doesn't respond to us, and what's being conveyed is nothing really from their side. They're literally being silent, and sometimes, like in this case, they have not noticed it, so they're not doing it on purpose. There's no message that they're trying to send to you, but we create this message, and boy, do we love to just let things fester and grow and transform into all kinds of interesting and terrible things in our mind. Just somebody, somebody leaves you on red, they read your message, and then you really start to take it personally when they don't respond to you, and you're like, I don't know what. First you start to think, what did I do? Then you start to think like, well, there must be something wrong with them. And then you start to think maybe they're actually in trouble or whatever else it is. And then they message you the next day and they're like, sorry, I forgot to respond to your message. So a lot of times that silence, especially if there's somebody else involved and you're waiting for them to respond to you, it can be quite painful. And this is, I think, one of the biggest things that our practice, especially meditation, can help us with. There was this study where they took people, and I am going to butcher this, but this is my way of explaining it without fully remembering it. You can look it up and you'll get a better explanation. But they basically gave people the option to sit in silence and do nothing, or to turn like a dial and get shocked, or they just like asked somebody else to shock them. And people more often chose, I want to be shocked, than to sit here and be silent and do nothing. And of course, that, if you think about your own experience in life, will pretty much line up with how you feel about silence. Like for some people, it is so painful because we're left with those rotten thoughts in our mind, and we go to places that are way worse than being shocked and experiencing physical pain. So the power of silence is in being able to build up some resistance to that, to be able to deal with it, to be able to really get in touch with the thoughts in your mind, to be able to fall in love with your own, insanity, to be able to let go of the stuff that really just doesn't need to be dwelled upon, and to be okay with being bored. It's not something that we're great at. I think our human nature is to really have a problem with being bored, but definitely it is the nature of our world and our society. We're always seeking out some kind of sensory input to keep us entertained. And we're really missing a big part of life and the experience of what it is to be a human, to get in touch with those thoughts, the good, the bad, and just be with them. So that's what meditation is for, and that's what we're going to do. So tonight, we're going to sit in silence as we always do. You'll hear the trickle of the fountain, and some people tell me, oh, I had a really nice meditation. I just listened to the fountain. And look, that's better than what most people do, because most people are up in their heads thinking about all kinds of stuff. So if you have to use the sound of something, okay, that's better than nothing. Better than that would be to just be in silence. And so you are completely absorbed by the song of your breath. And it's not the sound of your breath. If you start breathing loudly, you're going to disturb everyone else's meditation, and you're giving yourself more than you probably need. It's an internal silent song, and just fall in love with it. It is the most beautiful thing. Of course, if you stop breathing, you die, but it's just a really nice, calming thing to focus on. Just by focusing on the breath, the mind will start to slow and quiet, and you'll find yourself in just the most peaceful possible state. So sit comfortably and silently. do a quick review of posture. Because you can't sit silently if you're so uncomfortable that you have to move around. So sit with your back straight, whether you're sitting cross-legged or in seiza. You want to have your knees even with or below your hips so that your legs do not fall asleep. Your spine is straight with your shoulders rolled back and your chin parallel to the ground. Close eyes. Your eyes are slightly raised to the point between your eyebrows. If you're struggling to find that position with your eyes, then you can visualize the point on the center of your forehead and your eyes will naturally raise up to that position. If that doesn't work for you, you can actually touch that spot with your finger, and then just by feeling that spot, your eyes again will naturally raise up. And this is what you're looking for, is just a slight raising up of the eyes. This will help us to associate this position with a raised consciousness rather than an everyday or sleeping consciousness. For here, we'll take a few deep breaths together. Start off with all the breath out, breathing in through the nose. Hold it for a few seconds at the top and out. You can breathe loudly now if you want to. In from the belly, hold, out. In, hold, out. In, hold, out. One more. In, hold, out. Finish with a double exhale. Let the breath come in. Let the breath go out. So try to just be completely absorbed by the sensation of the breath. When you're listening to that silence, feeling the breath like it's the most beautiful, perfect sound or song, just riveted by every beat. And when your mind inevitably wanders, just gently bring it back to the breath without judgment. If you need to, if you find your breath if you find your mind is continually wandering, you can count breaths for 5 to 10 breaths and then let go of that and just feel the breath. Try to let go of all that noise in your mind. Just feel and be here now.